Okay, welcome back, guys. I want you to take notice that the first link right now in the chat, and I'll mention it again, is for the Ad Hominem Thunderdome stream that will happen tonight at 10 Eastern Time, 7 Pacific on this channel. It's going to be me. It's going to be Gina from Texas, Wally from California, Alex from Tennessee, and I believe, who's the last person? Well, it's the four of us for now. And Jim So Podcast, just my stupid opinion, is probably going to be moderating along with Arjun. Somebody's going to be keeping time. But in any case, we're going to just throw down on all the bullshit that we've noticed from each other over, how long we've known each other. And just yesterday, there were a lot of arguments over a number of topics. And these are people that they know each other more from, interacting through politics and everything. So I think that's going to be kind of fun. Also, if somebody wants to jump in, given ad hominem, even if it's against me, somebody wants to, you can probably message me. I think during the stream, the best way to message me would probably be through Discord. So my Discord, my Discord link, I'll also put. Matter of fact, I'll put the Discord link right now since we're live anyway. So anyway, today we're going to talk a lot about the diversity hiring in the NFL. And I'm sorry to say, but people just have to realize that when you coach in a league where, performance matters, you need to sell tickets, you need to kind of get people in the seats. Even if they're not going to stay for the whole game, you need them to buy tickets. You need them to buy skyboxes. Happy New Year, S. Fresh and Larry Gerke, by the way. Thanks for tuning in. When you need people to tune in on TV, when you need people to buy merchandise, you can't have shitty coaches. You can't have horrible coaching. And I'll tell you what, there's some cases where, especially in college football, if the coach is horrible, it's worse than if the players are bad, but it kind of goes together over there because of recruiting. But you have to, I think you'd have to acknowledge that there's a real issue for sports fans when their team is just a joke and they can't get over it. So Cher's here too. Happy birthday, Cher. I hope you have the day off from teaching because obviously nobody wants to teach on a hangover. Not that I'm judging, but happy birthday, Cher and Larry, as well as S. Fresh. And again, tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Ad Hominem Thunderdome. Now, getting to the topic, there were a number of coaches fired. 5 of them, I think, throughout the season who were fired happened to be black. So that would be okay. Marvin Lewis, Hugh Jackson was fired earlier in the season from Cleveland. Marvin Lewis was fired yesterday from Cincinnati. It could be that Hugh Jackson gets his job. You also have Vance Joseph from Denver fired. Unfortunate for him, but what are you going to do? And Arizona fired, I believe his name was Steve Wilkes. And then New York fired the Jets. They fired their coach, Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles, a very unfortunate firing. I think when he got hired in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, there was a lot of hope that he could turn the Jets into a defensive powerhouse, and it just never happened. And unfortunately, they're going to pull out the diversity card here. So not only is Newsweek, which is really circling the drain right now, not only are they calling foul on the diversity issue, so is the Independent, which isn't even American. It's a British pro-EU newspaper. Okay, if you ever read the Independent recently ran one of the worst articles I've seen in a while on I believe it was Jordan Peterson. It was just horrible. So you have NFL Black Monday, winners and losers. This is from Sports Illustrated. John Harbaugh he's going to be. I don't think he gets let go at all this year. I think he will end up keeping his job even if the Ravens lose in the first round of the playoffs, because once you get into the playoffs, I think it's a little harder to fire you. Then again, I could be wrong because he hasn't taken them very far since they won the Super Bowl 7 years ago. I think it was 7 years ago. Mike McCarthy also happened to be fired earlier this season, and he could get another job. So Mike McCarthy, if you guys aren't football fans, was the coach of the Packers when they won the Super Bowl. I think it was the year before Harbaugh's Ravens won. And I think he's definitely going to get another chance. I predict he'll probably get the job in in Arizona. That's just my hunch. They're saying that he could coach in Cleveland, New York, Tampa, or Arizona. I would say he's not going to pick a team like Cleveland necessarily, because that over there, in Cleveland they have a very strong GM at the moment. So I don't think he's going to want to have another strong GM like he had with Ron Wolf in the past in Green Bay. And on the other hand, now I was considering, if this had only been a football-based conversation, I would have put it on the other channel, Razor Race Supercuts, which is the channel that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with politics or current events, just more with topics that are a little off. But you do have the issue of the diversity that people are going to bring up, which I think does put it a little more into perspective of current events and social justice garbage. Larry says, looking forward to tuning in to Uncle Hotep, Handy Mayhem on this. He posted a vid on this topic earlier, but I've yet to check in with him. Yeah. Another person I think would be a good commentator on this. His name is Chronicles of Judah 144. That guy's a weird guy, but he has some great commentary. But he's a strange dude, and he definitely hates feminists, and I think he hates lesbians too, which is kind of funny because he shits on the WNBA all the time. But check him out. I mean, I'm not afraid to put out the name of a channel of somebody I don't completely agree with, like Chronicles of Judah. Josh McDaniels, so he's probably going to end up with a head coaching position. Yeah, Larry, I think ABL might have something, but it's not. I don't know what he's doing. Adam Gase is fired. I don't know if he really deserves another job. He had he had plenty of time to turn Miami into a great team, and he didn't. So what are you gonna do? Eric Bieniemy, I've never really seen this guy. I don't even know what he looks like. So yeah, that guy is going to get hired for a very obvious reason, that the NFL wants to save face, so to speak. Now, I think he would be a great hire, and I think it's unfortunate that it'll be put in the framework of saving diversity. With him and Andy Reid, the Kansas City Chiefs have become a power in the NFL in terms of offensive firepower. So if he was to get a job, let's say in New York, it would be good, but then people would start to complain that he was hired for only one reason, and then they would claim, well, maybe it was really Andy Reid that made the Chiefs the better team. Or maybe it was less him, it was more, what's their quarterback's name? I can't believe I'm blanking on this, because he's been all over the news. I'm not even going to look at the screen. It's fuck. He has that hair, man. And his dad used to be a baseball player. Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, that's a guy. So that was embarrassing if I would have forgotten his name. So they might say, oh, it's really Pat Mahomes. It's really Andy Reid no. The offensive coordinator, I think, makes a difference. And the fact is that Bieniemy, I think, absolutely deserves a job. And if it's true that, now let me see, if he was also in Minnesota during the whole explosion a couple years ago, let's see, Minnesota Vikings running backs coach. So, he's coached Adrian Peterson in the past. So he's definitely managed some good talent. Yeah, I would say he deserves a shot. And I don't care about if somebody is a worthy candidate, fuck diversity. It doesn't matter. Bengals fans are going to be, and then the losers are John Elway. So he's going to, he's going to have a hard time filling in that Denver post because you've had over the past few years, as he's been the GM, you've had John Fox kind of come and go. He was the one who led Peyton Manning to that first Super Bowl appearance. Then you had him I think he did get fired in the end, or he might have just stepped down. And did John Fox take the job in Chicago for a while, or was that before? I know that he used to coach in Carolina. So, let's see here. It might have been afterward. Yeah, he was the head coach. He wasn't a good head coach at all in Chicago, and I'm not surprised that he ended up getting fired from there too. So then they went through Gary Kubiak, who put the team back together and won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. And then they went with this Vance Joseph. And Vance Joseph is one of those guys. I'll show him on screen. Vance Joseph, who, they're going to say, well, why did you fire this guy? Look, I mean, he could have been a good coach. But the fact is that the Broncos fell apart. And it's over. So let it go. They're going to say, oh, diversity is under threat in the NFL. I think he's going to get another job. They're asking why Vance Joseph, not Kyle Shanahan. No, I think that really. So this was when he was hired, actually. So never mind. But Vance Joseph, I think, would probably. It's a worthy question. Why does he get fired and Kyle Shanahan doesn't get fired? After all, Shanahan has been kind of a disaster over in San Francisco. I think that's Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. But yeah, the problem is that when you have a lot of coaches who collect that are going to just get fired, who happen to be black, then you're going to see a lot of them get fired on the same day. It is sorry for Vance Joseph. Sorry for Steve Wilkes. So, you have all these articles right now with people complaining. The normal NFL coaching firings are always brutal, but this year will be particularly bad. The number of black head coaches will drop precipitously. The number of African Americans in key front office positions will be practically non-existent. This is a dire time for the sport. And it's possible, it's entirely possible that Mike Tomlin with Pittsburgh will survive this year by virtue of the fact that he's black and not by virtue. Now, I think Mike Tomlin would be a good coach somewhere, but he's done really. Pittsburgh is going to fall apart under him next year. They're an aging team. There's a lot of tension in the locker room. There were reports. So you can't really blame diversity as the problem when you have a coach fighting with some of his own players some of them happen to be black. You even have, I think it was one of their all-time Hall of Famers, James Harrison, came out and said on TV that the reason that the Steelers are doing so poorly is because of Mike Tomlin. And James Harrison is black. And you have him fighting with Antonio Brown, who took the week off this week because he was fighting with Big Ben Roethlisberger. Then he shows up to the game on Sunday and expects to play. So what are you supposed to do? Is Antonio Brown, let's take a picture of Antonio Brown and see if race could be the factor in his fight with. So is this guy being racist to this guy? I don't think so. I think you just have issues of chemistry that come up, And I don't know. I mean, I think Eric Bieniemy would be a great coach if he did so well with Pat Mahomes for any of these teams that are looking for a coach. But Cleveland could be a little more of a complicated position because you need somebody that will be able to click with Baker Mayfield. And Green Bay might be a complicated position because you need somebody that will, they're not leaving Aaron Rodgers by the side of the road anytime soon if there's a coach that comes in. But yeah, Arizona could use him. New York could use Eric Bieniemy. There's just open your mind a little and stop blaming racism. That's my opinion. Uncle Hotep's take. If this isn't too long, I might actually just watch it here. 6 minutes. Nah. I'll watch it afterward, but I actually don't watch Uncle Hotep very often because there's too many channels out there, and some of his stuff I think isn't as interesting to me. But he does have like some nice takes on a number of topics. I think Uncle Hotep is from the faction of the internet that they hate Candace Owens, which is, I guess it's fine. I don't care. But, there's only so many creators that you can watch. I don't even think Candace Owens creates on YouTube anymore. So, I will watch that, though, because Handy Mayhem does do a lot of pretty good videos. Rex Ryan is not going to be getting a coaching job. Dan Quinn of Atlanta, I think that the Dan Quinn project is falling apart. He took them to that Super Bowl where they blew it against New England. And I think ever since then, they have basically fallen apart. They mentioned that the loss of Kyle Shanahan is a big factor of why they haven't done so well since 2 seasons ago. Yeah, but the fact is that Kyle Shanahan himself has been kind of a loser. Kyle Shanahan got Jimmy Garoppolo, and they thought, well, with Jimmy Garoppolo, we'll be able to pull through and do well as a team. Well, that hasn't happened. I think Jimmy Garoppolo has been, first of all, there's an injury issue, and it's just, that they have to build around the rest of the team for them to really be a factor. They have to build back to being the defense that they were under Mike Singletary and then under Jim Harbaugh. Harbaugh inherited a great defense under that was created under Mike Singletary, and then he improved the offense substantially with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick, during those seasons, and that's how they were able to get to the Super Bowl. They already had a good defense. You have to build the defense in order to even be a factor in the playoffs. People are talking about, oh, this is a pass-heavy league, defense isn't as critical. I think it'll be interesting how far the Bears go this year. So, yeah, a lot of these people are complaining. Now look at some of these people. Hugh Jackson, who is the former coach of Cleveland. This is Marvin Lewis, but Hugh Jackson, he should never have had a third season at all in Cleveland, and he got about half a season, and he's gone. And he was garbage. He had one win in the first 2 years, and then 2 wins in the third year, largely despite his coaching, not because of it. Yeah, Hugh Jackson should never coach again in the NFL. But in fact, people are thinking he might actually be the leading candidate to take over in Cincinnati, which would be, people in Cleveland love that. People in Baltimore love that too. All over the division, people would love to see Hugh Jackson take over there and basically just throw a dagger into the hopes of Cincinnati ever competing again, because the guy's just full of himself, and he's kind of lost all of his credibility. Then you have Marvin Lewis, the guy who is just fired after 17 seasons in Cincinnati. Now, he had a respectable 17 seasons if you're talking about the regular season, and we can look at his coaching record. So, you see here he had, he had a winning record, 131, 122, and 3. and a number of great years. 2015 in particular, they went 12-4, and I think that they still for some reason were the third seed in the playoffs, and they still lost and were one and done in the playoffs. You had them, they made the playoffs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 times. Well, it's total at the bottom anyway. So they just suck in the playoffs. Every time they go to the playoffs, they just get crushed. How many times do you need him to take them all the way to the first round of the playoffs and lose? And the last 3 seasons, they just haven't been good at all. They've been consistently losing. You have 6 wins, 7 wins, 6 wins. So I think that it was entirely understandable that they would move on from him. And there have been, you know what? This is another thing. There have been successful black coaches in the past. Okay, Tony Dungy. Why isn't anybody on the phone trying to get him to coach again? Well, I think it might be that he decided, it's not worth the effort to go through it. Tony Dungy was fired by Tampa in order to give that team, which he built into defensive powerhouse, with Warren Sapp and John Lynch and all those people, and they had a running game with Mike Allstott, but let's be fair. I mean, it was Tampa's defense that took them to the championship. He gets fired. They give the game to John Gruden, who was absolute crap, and he wins the Super Bowl for them. Then he goes to Indianapolis, inherits a team from Jim Mora that was already pretty good, and he got them to their Super Bowl win. So why try? I mean, the man is, I think, in his 60s, if not his 70s. Tony Dungy, I think, wants to be able to be in the broadcaster booth. Well, he's not in the broadcaster booth. He's in the anchor booth. Talk to people. He's very well respected. He's a very intelligent guy. When he talks about his Christianity, people basically freak out and call him some sort of zealot on TV. It's like, why add to that and become a coach? Okay, why I think that he's doing the right thing for himself, and instead of bothering with getting called names for whatever, like fanatic and stuff like that, I think that Tony Dungy is doing the best career move that he can. Other guys who were kind of successful as coaches who happen to be black, Herman Edwards used to be the coach in New York, and I think it was in Kansas City. I think he lost his mojo, and he's just, he's done, his career's over. So, some of these guys just are done. Mike Tomlin also won a Super Bowl. Jim Caldwell of, Indianapolis, he's the guy, I believe, who succeeded Tony Dungy. He took them back to the Super Bowl, and they lost. So what are you going to do? They ended up losing. And Peyton Manning got into injury mode, I think a couple years after that. And the team was revealed to be completely dependent on Peyton Manning. So they had to fire Jim Caldwell. And then he got another job in Detroit. And they did, so-so under him. And I think they made the playoffs one time. So some of these coaches are good, but they're not good enough to take the team to the Super Bowl. So what really is the problem is that, they have to give somebody new, I believe, a chance. And they did do that with this Steve Wilkes over in Arizona. I think they could have given him more time. I would agree with that. Steve Wilkes, let me see if should be on one of these articles, but they had the one and done list. But yeah, Steve Wilkes had only 1 year to improve Arizona. I don't think that's completely fair, but, would he have wanted to stay there? Arizona is going to be a horrible team going forward, especially since they drafted Josh Rosen last year, who I think was a horrible pick. And they're probably going to be picking very high in the draft for the next 5 or 6 years until they can get somebody who will rebuild the team defensively. There's going to have to be on defense because, some of their offensive stars, they're going to have Larry Fitzgerald eventually retire. He's 17 years in the league. he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but you know what? How much longer can you take? Let's see if there's any more comments in the meantime. A second. Yeah, sorry. I think I took my head off the screen here. You have Memes of Destruction here. Memes, by the way, I messaged you if you want to watch or be a moderator on Ad Hominem Thunderdome tonight. You can come in. Memes of Destruction was on a live stream a couple weeks ago with me. So he says, "Go Pats." Yeah, I think the Patriots are in actually good position. People think that they were really put off by that one miracle play in Miami, but the rest of the AFC isn't looking exactly secure either. I think that in the AFC, the way it looks right now, the two teams that are most likely to win and get into the Super Bowl would be Kansas City. Actually, no, not even Kansas City. I don't think that they beat New England. It would be New England or Baltimore, in my opinion. I don't know why, but I think that Kansas City has kind of been exposed as a poor defensive team in many of these games. And New England, I think, they're not as good as they've been in years past on defense, but I think that they have a chance to go all the way. Then you have, in the NFC, I would say everybody knows that New Orleans is the odds-on favorite to get in. So, yeah, that's about it for the fired head coaches. Now, each one, I guess we'll assess a grade. Marvin Lewis, I think, should have been fired 4 or 5 years ago. Vance Joseph, yeah, they could have given him one more year and he would have had another awful year because they're not bad enough to have drafted a quarterback high. There's no great quarterback that's sticking out in the draft next year anyway, so it doesn't matter. And if there was, he would have been snapped up by another team like Arizona or Jacksonville, or possibly even, if you're looking at some of the teams that are further down there, you have San Francisco. You certainly have Oakland. I think would need another quarterback if they're going to move on from Derek Carr, who doesn't look like he's having a good time with John Gruden. Steve Wilkes, like I said, should have probably had another year. Todd Bowles, how much longer can you go? The guy had a raw deal when he came in because I think that they were still with Geno Smith, if I'm not mistaken. And then since then, they've had just problem after problem. They gave him one of the years he was there. They gave him Josh McCown, and Josh McCown is he's a fighter, but he's not a winner. So now they're stuck with this Sam Darnold kid who he might win, but it's not going to be under Todd Bowles because they had to clean house. They didn't have really an offensive mindset, and they had some embarrassing losses, including one to the Bills, I believe, that was like, it was over by halftime. And then Hugh Jackson I've already talked about. So again, tune in 10 p.m. Eastern time on Bold Like a Leopard, Ad Hominem Thunderdome. Put it like I'll point. You know what? I'll take that. Wait a second. I had the stream link before, so 1 second. Don't anybody go anywhere. So I will put the stream link in the chat, and you will go there. Okay, you're gonna go there, and you're going to click a reminder to tune in at 10 p.m. for Ad Hominem Thunderdome. The hell? I had an event. Okay. Here we go. So, live control room. Here we go. Here's the link. You should see it in a second. So you click on that. All of you click on it. Put a reminder. Say that you're going to watch it. You're going to enjoy it. And you will like it. So please like this video, subscribe to my channel, share the video, and follow me on CocoScope, also on BitChute, and on all the other social media below, Gabs, Minds, and the rest. And Happy New Year to all of you.